The mess hall was alive with the usual clatter of trays, laughter, and the low hum of conversation. For Private First Class Jason Miller, it was just another day in uniform, navigating the rigid routines of military life. He had always been confident, maybe even a little cocky, carrying himself with the bravado of a Marine who knew his place. But sometimes, the bravado bordered on arrogance. That morning, however, he didn't realize how quickly his assumptions could unravel. Across the hall, Lieutenant Colonel Emily Carter moved with quiet authority, her presence subtle but unmistakable. She was respected, not just for her rank, but for the way she carried herself, with integrity, humility, and an unwavering commitment to those under her command. Emily had risen through the ranks, not because she demanded attention, but because she earned it, quietly and consistently, every single day. Most of the younger soldiers barely recognized her beyond the occasional salute and nod of acknowledgement. Jason was in line for his breakfast, a plate of scrambled eggs and toast in hand, when a moment of impatience got the better of him. The line was moving slowly, and he nudged forward, brushing against someone in his hurry. His shove landed squarely on Emily, making her stumble slightly. "Oh, watch where you're going, Private!" Jason snapped, assuming the person he had bumped into was just another lower-ranking soldier. There was a smirk on his face, a sense of superiority that only deepened when no one immediately responded. But the mess hall fell silent. All eyes turned toward him, and for the first time that morning, Jason noticed the woman he had just shoved, Emily Carter. She stood tall, composed, and calm, yet the authority she exuded was undeniable. Jason's bravado faltered for a fraction of a second, replaced by the sinking realization that he had misjudged the situation entirely. "Private Miller," Emily said, her voice steady but firm. "I believe you owe me an apology." There was no anger in her tone, only a quiet expectation that left Jason feeling small. Around him, fellow Marines exchanged looks, some surprised, others trying not to smirk at his obvious discomfort. Jason's pride battled with the truth of his mistake. He opened his mouth, closed it, and finally muttered, I'm sorry, ma'am." The words felt heavy, unfamiliar, and yet strangely relieving. Emily nodded and stepped aside. "Thank you. Now, perhaps you can remember that respect is earned through actions, not assumptions." She continued down the line, taking her tray with grace, unflustered by the disruption. Jason, meanwhile, stood frozen, a mixture of embarrassment and admiration washing over him. The day continued, but Jason couldn't shake the encounter. There was something about Emily's calm authority, her quiet confidence, that lingered in his mind. He watched as she moved among the troops, speaking with a private struggling to understand a new protocol, offering a reassuring hand to another who had spilled coffee on his uniform. Each interaction was subtle, yet profound, a reminder that leadership wasn't about fear or ego. It was about empathy, patience, and the quiet power of humanity. Over the following days, Jason found himself observing Emily more closely, learning without realizing it. He noticed how she remembered the smallest details about each Marine under her command, their birthdays, their family struggles, the quiet insecurities they tried to hide. She never forced a lesson, never demanded respect with harsh words. Instead, she earned it naturally, through consistency, kindness, and unwavering integrity. One afternoon, a younger Marine, Private First Class Luis Hernandez, struggled with a physical exercise that left him on the verge of collapse. Jason watched as Emily approached, offering encouragement, adjusting his form gently, and staying by his side until he could finish the task. It wasn't just training. It was a moment of care that left Jason rethinking everything he had assumed about rank and authority. Jason began to see a different kind of strength in Emily, one that didn't shout or demand attention, but inspired through example. He reflected on his own actions, realizing how often he had relied on bravado rather than genuine skill or compassion. The incident in the mess hall, once a source of embarrassment, became a turning point in his perspective. Weeks later, during a particularly grueling training exercise, Jason found himself facing a situation he couldn't handle alone. A sudden injury to another Marine required quick thinking and steady hands, and Jason's confidence faltered. Emily arrived almost instantly, not with reprimands, but with guidance and support, demonstrating precisely how to manage the crisis with both efficiency and care. Jason followed her lead, learning not just the practical skills, but the underlying principle that true leadership involved lifting others rather than asserting oneself. After the exercise, Emily pulled Jason aside. "You're learning quickly," she said, a small smile touching her lips. "Remember, mistakes are opportunities to grow, but only if you allow yourself to see them that way." Jason nodded, understanding in a way that transcended the simple words. It was more than military strategy. It was a life lesson, a blueprint for integrity and compassion that extended far beyond the base. Months passed, and Jason's transformation became evident to everyone. The once arrogant Marine had developed humility, respect, and an ability to inspire others without commanding attention. He found himself mentoring new recruits, offering support in ways he had once ignored, and reflecting Emily's quiet strength in every interaction. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden light across the base, Jason saw Emily walking toward the mess hall. He carried a tray of food and smiled, remembering the moment that had changed everything. This time, he made sure to step aside respectfully, not because he feared reprimand, but because he understood the value of respect, earned through actions rather than rank. Emily looked at him and nodded approvingly, a silent acknowledgement of the growth she had quietly nurtured. It was a small gesture, but for Jason it carried profound meaning. He realized that the true power of leadership lay not in commanding others, but in empowering them, lifting them up, and showing the strength of kindness and integrity. From that day forward, Jason carried Emily's lessons with him in every aspect of life, both on and off the base. The mess hall incident, once a moment of embarrassment and shame, had transformed into a lasting reminder of humility, compassion, and the unexpected ways in which humanity can inspire change. In the quiet moments, Jason often reflected on how one small act, one shove, one mistake, had led to an awakening of character, showing him that growth often comes from the most unexpected encounters. And in witnessing Emily's unwavering kindness and dedication, he learned that true respect and leadership were inseparable from humanity itself, leaving him forever inspired and hopeful.